More than 100,000 people in the United States are on the waiting list for an organ transplant. If you want to be an organ donor when you die, you can document that in various ways. Most commonly is a marker on your driver's license. But did you know that more than 90% of the transplant waiting list could be satisfied by a living organ donation of a kidney, a liver, bone marrow, or stem cells? Hi, I'm Manfred Stapff, the host of the Real-World Evidence Perspective, which brings you truth, data, and candid context. How can one help if one wants to be a living organ donor? Of course, a living organ donation needs more than just a documentation on the driver's license. Sometimes one knows about someone in the family or in the friends circle, someone who needs an organ, and one can contact them. But usually it needs a registry to bring potential donors and potential recipients together. There are registries for solid organs like kidneys, and there's another registry for bone marrow and stem cells, and they help to find the best match. So how well do donor and recipient have to match and be genetically somehow related? How similar should they be? Remember, we have 23 pairs of chromosomes, makes 46 chromosomes. For liver, mainly the blood type is important. Blood type A, B, 0, rhesus positive, negative, and this information is usually on chromosome number 9. For stem cells, it's a little bit more complicated. Stem cells create blood cells, create red cells, white cells, platelets, leukocytes, lymphocytes, and basically create a totally new immune system. Therefore, the immune system is very important, and one calls these antigens human lymphocyte antigen. There are 5 very important ones, and since we have 2 alleles, one allele from the mother, one allele from the father, this makes a combination of 10 different types, and if we combine them, there could be thousands of different combinations. The information for this HLA, human lymphocyte antigen, are on chromosome 9. So for the relationship between donor and recipients, there is no X chromosome or Y chromosome. It's not very important. Therefore, the biological sex does not really play a big role. One can get an organ from a woman if you are a man, or from a man if you are a woman. The information for eye color is on chromosome 15. So that's also another information, and therefore donor and recipient do not have to have the same eye color. The information for hair color is on various chromosomes, and 2 of these chromosomes are chromosome 6 and 9. So maybe in terms of hair color, donor and recipient may look a little bit more similar. So how do patients who need an organ or stem cell transplant find a donor? How do people who want to donate an organ, for example a kidney, a liver, stem cells, while they are still alive, find a patient who needs that? Of course, the transplant center will be very active and very helpful, but it needs a registry with all the specific information. So now it's time to move away from the general numbers and from the general statistics and the general science to actual real cases. And therefore today I have distinguished guests. I have a mix of donors and recipients, people who donated an organ, but also people who received an organ, which is a life-saving thing. And the best is they introduce themselves who they are, how they came to be an organ receiver or an organ donor. Let's just start with Matt here on my side. So Matt, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Just introduce yourself in very short. How did you even become an organ donor? In your case, it's stem cells. Stem cells are
yeah.
also an organ. So we differentiate solid organs like liver, kidney, or the organs which is bone marrow and stem cells. So Matt.
So I actually got introduced to the whole idea of donating your stem cells by this guy right here, my buddy Kyle. So he went through it, told me his story, and it sounded like a real no-brainer to me. It was a very easy test. It made it all very simple, streamlined. And it's rare to get a call, but I am glad I did,
Wonderful, perfect. So Kyle, you motivated Matt. So how did you come to a stem cell donor?
So actually, I was in the police academy, and they asked anyone if they would sign up, and you didn't really have a choice to say no. But I was really willing to do it. I'm a giving background. I do a lot with the food pantry and stuff, so it was right up my alley.
Yeah.
So I didn't know police academy, meaning you learned there, or you were a policeman, or
Yeah, so I was in the police academy for 6 months, and I was trying to become a police officer at the time. And part of the police academy, they had someone come in from Be the Match, which is the bone marrow registry. And that's kind of how I got involved with it.
That's amazing. I mean, it's really good to hear that this kind of heroes, the first responders, policemen, military people are doing good work, even beyond their original job. I did not hear that. I did not know that, but I mean, great that they did it. Yeah. And did you need to convince Matt, or was he immediately saying yes?
Yeah, no, when I after I did it and I told him everything, him and his wife Emily were like, "Oh my gosh, that's the coolest thing." You guys both signed up right away, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I was a little delayed just because I'm lazy. Well, I had to sit on my desk there for a little bit, and I'm like, I got to do this. What am I doing? And it's like the most simple procedure on the planet, just to see if you're a match, right? So it's just a swab, and you basically send it in the mail, and you're good to go. You're registered,
Wonderful, wonderful. So my friends here, my family friends, actually, Buddy is my cousin. So we, by nature, share already a little bit of DNA. But Buddy, what's your story in terms of transplant, in terms of organ receiving?
Well, I was diagnosed with HCC in August of 2023, a very large tumor on my liver, and I was inoperable. And then through immunotherapy and radiation, it was reduced to a point where I could get on a list. I believe that was sometime April of 2024. As you know, Manfred, getting on the list is great, but depending on how sick you are, will determine whether or not you're going to be getting an organ right away. And I was fairly healthy at the time, feeling good, and I kind of was thinking to myself, the only way I'm going to survive this is through a living donor. The first person I thought of was this guy right here, and he was in the best shape, similar bodies, composition, and he's also a New Jersey state trooper, so I figured he could have the most access to time off. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. That was the transplant was done this past January. Couldn't be happier.
Yeah, great that it worked out so well. Just an explanation, HCC is hepatocellular carcinoma, so you explained it very nicely, just for our viewers and listeners who perhaps are not so familiar with acronyms. Hepatocellular carcinoma, so liver cancer in normal language, yes. Yeah. So Kyle, you are Buddy's son. And how did this happen with you? Have you been approached, or did you offer voluntarily, or how did the logistics work for you?
So I was, originally when I was told that he was eligible for the transplant, I was, fairly unfamiliar with the living donor aspect of it. And, my mother called me one night and kind of said, "Hey, dad is eligible for a transplant," and explained very thoroughly the options. And she got the last option, and that was living donor. And, she kind of said, like, we hope that you would consider, possibly getting tested at the very least. And, my brother, who's 10 years younger than me, got tested. So once she said that, I was like, kind of, when you get that news, or you're asked to do something like that, it kind of hits you and you're like, man, like it's a heavy hit. But then, upon reflecting on it and thinking about, the impact, that something like that would have, it's a no-brainer. So, got tested. I want to say that was around like November, maybe early December of last year. And that kind of, like, little did I know, but that's like the process kind of takes off right after that. And like I said, November, and he said, the surgery in January. So within 2 months, I was on the table having the surgery. So it went pretty fast, but I couldn't be happier that I did it and took part in it.
And how did the logistics work? I can imagine that you have to be in surgery at the same day like your father, because of course you cannot keep the liver outside the body too long. So how was the logistics, both at the same day in surgery in the hospital, or just from a timing point of view, how did you experience that?
Yeah, so they had, when we did a pre-operational, briefing for the most part. And long story short, my surgery started about an hour before his. They had everything timed up. So I must say mine started at 7. They timed it up so his started at 8, and just so they could go from one to the other. I guess so. It was a different surgeon, but like I said, once they got my liver out, he was ready to go, and they started his up.
And how much liver did they take?
67% of mine.
67. There's basically 2/3.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you have 1/3 of liver left. How is this remaining liver doing now?
So that's in a lot of this stuff they explain along the process, which, early on that I had to do, I think one day I did like 8 hours worth of meetings I had to do with different doctors and all that. And that actually was the best thing for me, because it made me like really comfortable going in. You could ask him, like, I was, beyond confident. I had no anxiety about going into the surgery at all. I credit that a lot to the doctors that kind of prepared me of what's going to happen, how much they're going to take. But really, what the thing that shocked me the most is they said within the first 8 weeks, your liver is 85% regenerated. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know if that's 85% of what I originally had, or 85% of the 67 they took. I'm not that good with math, but within the first like 6 to 8 weeks, I'm kind of feeling pretty normal again. So it's kind of amazing.
That's amazing. Apparently, the liver is an amazing organ which can basically replace itself or recover itself in an amazing way. This does not mean that you can damage your liver and challenge it with all these kind of things which are bad to the liver. But it's amazing. I think it's one of the few organs in the human body who can basically recover so nicely and so quickly.
My surgeon said it's the only organ that forgives you.
It's a good way to put it.
It's a very nice way. So buddy, how is your liver, or Kyle's liver, now doing in your body? How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I've had a few bumps in the road, but if I look at how I felt when I came out of the hospital, which is still 2025 January, to how I feel now. It's like night and day. That they don't necessarily prepare you for these these things. I'm in a support group through American Liver Foundation, and one person put it this way and said, when you get your transplant, it's not like it's a graduation to where like, okay, I'm healthy, fine. You're not fine. You're different, and you have to do things differently, live differently, eat differently, get exercise more, and also go in for, I call it maintenance. I've had 3 ERCPs, which is an endoscopy where they go through your throat and they have to insert stents into your bile duct, my bile duct, in order to keep that open, because it gets clogged, because I don't have a gallbladder. Take that out, the set gets in the way, so just get rid of it. But yeah, so I'm on my 3rd, and they're not. It's not like it's a stay overnight type of operation. It's in and out, but you're still under anesthesia. You still have to crap, feel lousy for a couple of days. I just had one on Wednesday. Finally yesterday I was feeling better. So it takes a couple of days to rebound from that. And I've been hospitalized twice in the past year, which they do tell you is going to happen. But I'm just grateful I'm here. I mean, like I said, if he didn't step up, I don't think I would have made it. I think I was too healthy. As weird as that sounds, I was too healthy for a transplant, but obviously there's people who are afraid of need. I don't have a problem with that system, but it's just, I knew immediately that my only chance was a living donor.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a great story, and you look great, and you seem to cover very, very nicely. Do both of you? I mean, you now have, despite the liver is kind of regrowing, but do you have to keep a certain liver diet or avoid certain things in order to be careful to your both organs?
Yeah, they want you to stay away from, like pretty much for anybody, whether you're, the recipient, fried foods, processed foods, sugar, as far as diet goes. And then the other complication I'm having is I'm pre-diabetic, so we're working on that. I have to, do the glucose test every day. So yeah, it's a learning process. I'm like kind of in the middle of that right now with the diabetes, and I don't want to graduate to full blown type 2 diabetes. I want to try to get this under control, and I'm working towards that goal.
Yeah. So what one would normally consider a healthy lifestyle, healthy eating, makes perfectly sense. Be careful with the fat and with the carbs and with everything. Of course, alcohol is never really good for the liver. I think you will reduce that.
I swore that off. My life is better for it, really.
Perfect. Nice. So let's go to our stem cell buddies. So Kyle, when you donated the stem cells, so my cousin Buddy and the other Kyle, they went into surgery. But with stem cells, it's different. So how was the process when you donate stem cells?
Yeah, so when they did stem cells for us, it was through the blood, so it was really nothing. I mean, the only thing is 7 days beforehand, we would take a shot called Neupogen, which 3-4 days was nothing. Maybe like the last 2 days for me, it felt like I had like you know, when you have the flu and like your whole body aches. It wasn't no nausea or anything, but your whole body ached. But that was only for like 2-3 days. You know, going up and down stairs was maybe a little bit more difficult, but not that bad.
Yeah, forces you to just produce more stem cells, you know?
Yeah, it is basically like your immune system is working, producing stem cells, like you feel if you have the flu or something. It's not very good feeling, to be honest. So you also went, you went through something, but still it was for good purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it really wasn't that bad. And then we literally, they were really good. Like they sent a nurse to our house to give us the Neupogen shots and everything. So we had to do nothing. And then right after that, then the day of when my stem cells were being transferred, it just, you know, they take it out of one arm, goes through a machine, goes back in the other arm, and
Yeah, they get filtered out, you know? Pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
And you have immediate relief at that point, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You're immediately better, you know?
I see. So, and the logistics. So it's similar if the liver went out of one body and within 1 hour or so into the other body. How was it with the stem cells? So I am your receiver. So we now share the same DNA.
Yeah, we're saying,
And
don't commit any crime.
yeah. So in my case, it was I had leukemia. So of course, heavy chemotherapy, 4 or 5 cycles of chemotherapy, the good old stuff, the really toxic stuff. So which basically killed the bone marrow. No bone marrow anymore. No red blood cells, no white blood cells, no platelets, no leukocytes or lymphocytes. Everything down. So you need to refill, like you had to refill body's body with a new liver immediately. One had to refill my body with new stem cells for new blood. So it was as a matter of the timing. So you also got the notice that they need you now because they have a receiver. Or how did this work?
Yeah, so it was very time oriented. That's pretty much very important because of the kind of shape that they were putting you in. They really don't want people backing out of something like this. So they did a really good job of making sure you were very ready for it and did a really great job explaining the whole process. So there were no surprises. And yeah, I believe they, what is it, like they cryogenically freeze it
Mm-hmm.
for shipping, and then they get it to you like what, next day or something like that. It's a very
Mm-hmm.
very timely process.
Yeah,
And they do a
yeah,
good job at
Yeah.
doing that, you
Yeah.
know?
And you couldn't bail out in the last minute because I
Yeah.
was already, my bone marrow was already killed. So if I
That's the
didn't
risk,
get your
yeah.
stuff, would be over.
And they did a good job at that, to be honest with you. It was very, like, they're very forward about it, very honest, you know?
Yeah.
Lots of paperwork.
Yeah. So for me, it's similar like body. It's not like when you break a bone after 6 weeks, everything is fine and you are happy like before. I think it's something which changes your life almost forever, but in a good way, I mean, you kind of cherish what you have. You live a better life. I take a lot of medication, so buddy, with you, it will be perhaps similar against the rejection. You may also have to take some preventive medication. I don't know.
I take somewhere between 15 and 19 pills in the morning and also at night.
Yeah, similar here. And normally with solid organs, the receiver body tries to recognize the new organ as a kind of a strange body and creates an immune reaction, and this has to be prevented. In my case, it's the other way around. It's called graft versus host disease, meaning Matt's stem cells can aggressively attack my body. So you invite some guest into your house and the guest starts to become aggressive. So this, of course, has to be prevented. But we are a very good match, so it's very limited. It can go into the liver, it can go into the lungs, it can go make inflammation in the eyes. I have a little bit of eye inflammation. But these are things which most likely go on almost for a lifetime. So things are never really as they were before, like you break a bone and after half a year everything is forgotten. It's not the case. And of course, I'm forever thankful for Matt and also for Kyle, who motivated Matt to do that. Because without the stem cells, it would look a little bit more critical for me. So from a spiritual point of view, or a kind of a thinking and believing point of view, it's just great what you guys have been doing. It's not clear whether this actually saved my life, because in hematologic diseases, it's still questionable, chemotherapy alone or chemotherapy plus stem cell transplant. But I decided for chemo and stem cell. Let's go full. And I remember Apollo 13, the movie, when the flight director says failure is not an option. That's what I said. Dying is not an option. And here I am.
It's a good attitude.
Yeah. So how do you guys see that? I mean, you sort of saved a life. At least you did something very, very good to other people without having a benefit. I didn't pay you for that. I tried to make you a good breakfast, but so
That was it. We came for the breakfast. No, it was a really easy decision. This awful disease has taken too many people I love away. So it's just, it was really, the pleasure's mine, you know, and I'm sure you would feel pretty similar.
Yeah, I mean, you get the option to save someone's life. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it was,
and like Buddy said, like Kyle said before, though, it's like at first it's like, whoa, really? Like me? Like I can do that? And then looking back at it, it's like, wow, that was probably one of the coolest things I'll ever be able to do in my life.
yeah, and I'll be honest, when he told me about it, it kind of seemed like a little sci-fi to me, just because I don't know much about the medical field, but you explained it very well, and it's pretty wild that it's so effective, you know, like it's pretty awesome technology.
it's really awesome. I mean, this method was introduced, I think, 20 or 30 years ago. I think by Dr. Spitzer in Massachusetts, and he still visited me, the inventor of stem cell transplant. Very elderly guy, I think in his 80s or so, but he still cares about his patients. And it's an amazing technology. These stem cells are really growing. They're producing blood, they're producing platelets, they are producing white blood cells. I'm a little bit anemic, so your stem cells behave very well, but they're a little bit lazy, I have to say. But it's
Can you
okay.
blame him?
It's okay. So, Buddy, Kyle, did this procedure somehow change your father-son relationship, or any kind of dependency or gratefulness, whatever you want to share with us?
Well, I laugh about this because, like he said, like I'm the Jersey State Police, and we kind of are like, very, we try to not keep it sadness. So like I remember the day I came up for the surgery of, I stayed at, their house in like Central Jersey. And I remember walking up and I kind of saw him, he was looking a little emotional. I said, don't get soft on me here. Like, so like, I don't, I've always, looked up to him. He's my hero. So, I don't know if it's changed in any regard, but like they said, he said before, it definitely is something that, you have an opportunity. I looked at this whole, situation as like an opportunity to, save a life, not only a life, but my father's life. So, when you start to put it in perspective, you start to like reflect on that. Yeah, like, you think about it like that, but yeah, I think I've always had a relationship with him, and I don't know if anything's changed. Anything he gonna do, I like to think I would always do. So
Yeah, and I think it's reinforced our relationship. He's been living on his own for since 12 years now. We don't see each other as much, obviously, because he's about an hour away. But we talk on the phone, we text, like everybody seems to do these days. But yeah, I mean, I'll never forget. I think it was December 18th when he called me with the news, and it was just so emotional. I'm not a crier either, but I was bawling my eyes out on the phone. I couldn't talk. It just felt like a miracle. I mean, like, just, I can tell you how I felt, but until you're actually in that position,
Yeah.
Kind of resigned to the fact that you may not be around in a couple of months.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like somebody threw you a life raft and saved your life in the middle of the ocean. And I could feel it in my body, just relaxing and letting all that anxiety out. That, I got a shot, and one of the best days of my life, honestly.
Wonderful, wonderful story. So you all are from New Jersey.
You guys are from New Jersey?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are.
So
What
and
exit?
I'm originally from Germany. You can hear my accent, but now I live in New York. And the New Yorkers sometimes make fun about New Jersey. I don't understand why. So I just can tell in New Jersey there are really, really good people. They do good things. We have a former state trooper here. We have police academy participants. These are all good people, first responders, law executives who help other people. That's their profession, and they did it even in the medical field. There's also something which I find interesting. We have now so much diversity and diversion in our society, and we focus so much on what separates us. Different opinion, different race, different politics, different right and left. And when you think about transplant, because you have to be a match, you suddenly focus, and if it's only the genetics, you focus on what you have in common. So you guys, you have a liver in common. Amazing. We have a DNA in common. We basically share the same DNA. So one should focus much, much more on what we have in common rather than what separates us. And if you think in the genetics of a transplant, it's so obvious to look at things what we have in common. So again, thank you very much. You do great stuff. I learned that New Jersey is full of wonderful people who are doing great things. And thank you very much to our listeners and viewers for joining this podcast, The Real World Evidence Perspective, which brings you truth, data, and candid context. And if you like, please subscribe to this channel, forward it, like it, click on whatever good you want to do, whatever you find appropriate. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Buddy, for joining here, and all the best. And we all will stay healthy for the future. Thank you very much.